Good day, everyone. I'm Ethan, moderator for this webinar. Welcome everyone for today's webinar, Receiver Liability for Supplier Preventive Controls. I would now like to introduce our presenter for today, Dr. John Ryan. Dr. John Ryan is the president of RyanSystems.com and holds a PhD in research and statistical methods. For more than 25 years, he has implemented quality control systems for international corporations in the United States and around the world. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, John.
All right, thanks very much. Welcome, everybody. So today we're going to talk about receivers. That's you, and how you are liable for what your suppliers have or do not have in place with regard to preventive quality food safety systems. Okay, so here's some of the things we're going to talk about. Hazard analysis, preventive controls, different risk levels, temperature controls, certification, compliance record, your supplier's food safety history, what you should know about your suppliers, environmental sampling and test, and traceability. That's a few of them. That's not all of them. Okay, under the FDA food guidance regulations, Subpart G requires you to establish and implement a supply chain program. That means you're liable for your supplier's food safety. Responsibilities of the receiving facility, that's you. The receiving facility is now reliable for food safety in the supply chain. You have to conduct supplier verification activities for raw materials and other ingredients. You have to conduct on-site audits, keep records. And so this concept of vicarious liability means that your company is responsible for those suppliers and their ability to deliver temperature-controlled, safe, sanitary food. So if we back up a little bit, there's three primary factors causing food suppliers to adopt traceability and recall planning. Number one, the market says if you don't do it, you're out. Standards like ISO 22000, which is a high-level international standards, requires suppliers to comply with your requirements. Product liability, so you're liable for what you buy and sell. And that's not going away. That's getting more serious. And now other food safety laws and regulations, including the ones we're talking about today, as well as a lot of state level laws and regulations. What does the FDA expect? Well, they want you to do a risk-based preventive program for all foods consumed in the U.S., local or imported, throughout the supply chain by identifying risks, applying appropriate food safety controls directed at prevention and elimination of adulterants through all processes. Private and government audits will be conducted. You're going to do a hazard analysis and you're going to work on preventing those hazards within your own operation, but now also within your suppliers. So I want to talk about this concept. A lot of people throw around the word corrective action, and that includes things like returning goods, culling, sorting, destroying, separating, inspecting, remove, return type of activities. Preventive action means you perform a causal analysis, a formal causal analysis. You find the cause, remove the cause, and do some change to your process so that the cause can never occur again. That's totally different than a corrective action I've listed. Okay, so hazards in foods and processes, impact to human health, the potential to cause deaths. Okay, what are they? These are the things that you've got to be looking out for. Pests, bug parts, bird droppings, insecticides and other chemicals, bacteria, food residues, intentional adulteration, foreign matter, glass, wood, dirt, radiation, paint chips, mold and other residues, spoilage, contamination from packaging, allergens, that's a big one, temperature loss, out of control processes, and adulterated and contaminated inputs to your process from your suppliers. High-risk foods. What's a high-risk food? Well, you can look at the CDC's outbreak history to determine if you're playing with high-risk foods. The likelihood that consuming the food would result in a foodborne illness. FSMA final rule in the preventive controls for human foods. Key requirements. You have to establish and implement a food safety system by doing a hazard analysis, establishing preventive controls. Requirements to establish under and implement a supply chain program. That's what we're talking about today. Subpart G, supply chain program, preventing the potential of supply chain hazards from entering the food supply chain. New rule requirements include 33 different sections intended to establish what food receivers, that's you, must do to comply. Let's talk about preventive controls. We've got suppliers, receiving, in-process, shipping, and customers. Okay, now I'm talking about the rules. Some people are excluded. Food not intended for retail sale or distribution to the public and food for research or evaluation is excluded from these rules. Qualifying suppliers based on what we're talking about today. You're qualifying them based on their ability to prevent food safety problems, and that's it. The final rule specifies that the supply chain program must include using approved suppliers, determining appropriate supplier verification activities. You're going to conduct supplier verification activities and you're going to document those activities. You're the receiver. You and your suppliers have to perform hazard analysis and assure that the hazard controls are implemented. You have to assure that they have a good FDA compliance record. They have to follow food safety, storage, and transportation practices as well. The rules: if there's reasonable probability that exposure to a hazard will result in serious adverse health consequences or death, you must use approved suppliers. If the supplier is a qualified supplier and you receive written assurance that you can reduce your audit frequency, but there's some exemptions. If it's a qualified facility and you have in writing that they're a qualified facility, they're exempt. Adequate assurance that the hazards are controlled. You have assurance that is qualified facility and producing in compliance with the rules. Foreign suppliers may provide written assurance that they are in compliance with local relevant laws similar to the U.S. Records requirements, the rules, written supply chain, covering importers, supplier approval, receiving procedures, sampling and testing, dates, results, records from others providing supply chain control services. Supplier provided verification activities are based on supplier performance and product risk. So we created what we call an integrated food safety system. The approach was to standardize data across all levels for enforcement purposes. So what kind of data are we looking at here? In one single computer running your entire inventory system. Let's talk about safety certified suppliers for a minute. Records updating and tracking. For the supplier, the advantage it's your supplier, increased sales through your food safety certification status. The idea behind this webinar is simple. You are responsible. You're a receiver. And as a receiver, you have the responsibility to make sure that you collect enough data on your suppliers to know that they are in food safety control and to document the fact that they are in control or not in control. That's the end of our webinar today.
So thank you everyone for participating. Thank you everyone for having a great session, John. And that's it for today. You all may disconnect now. You all have a great day ahead. Bye-bye. Take care.
All right. Thanks, folks. Bye.